for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Bethel. I am your host, Dr. Angela Tester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten you, inspire you, and empower you to become your best self. Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want to get you fired up about your personal destiny. My guest today is Evangelist John Dye, and he has written the book, Your Personal Destiny, A Complete Guide. He is a motivational speaker, and you know what? I think he is definitely going to be able to fire you up this morning. Let me tell you a little bit more about the evangelist. Evangelist John Dye is a motivational speaker and spiritual counselor that is in constant touch with the needs of the people in accordance with God's will and God's grace. He's also a multi-talented model/actor, singer, and chef that's making a difference in this world. So you know what I'm about to say? Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee, get your tea, because we are about to get started. So good morning, Evangelist Dye. Thank you so much for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today.
Glad to be here.
I love the title of your book, Your Personal Destiny, A Complete Guide. So before we dive directly into that, I want to ask you a personal question, and that is, who is Evangelist John Dye, in your own words?
Well, I'm a multi-talented person. I mean, you know, God gave me all the talent to get in and out of people's lives so that I can lead them to God in a higher form of truth and love and understanding, so that they'll be able to love each other as well as God in this world. And I think we need that more than anything. And so my success, that's what I do.
Do you think that, I love how you said that we need to be reminded that there needs to be that love in the world. Do you think that people have just forgotten how to love each other? Like, do you think that they've just gotten so bogged down with, like, life that they've forgotten how to operate in that loving spirit? What are your thoughts?
Well, I just believe that, you know, the words of God are coming true, but I believe that people believe that they can do things in this world without God, and they think they can do it for a little while, but after a while, they soon become consumed by this world and this world's ways, whether it be political, religious, or any other organization. Okay. But you've come to find out, and even in your personal relationships, when you put God back in your life, you're able to understand love and truth and these things at a high level. You have a lot more compassion and understanding for one another. Without God, you tend to, the world becomes to be a cruel place to live.
I love that. Now, I want to kind of ask some questions about your book, because that is one of the reasons why you're here, not just to talk about ministry, but also about your book, and I love that. Because our books are a part of our ministry. It kind of is there when we're not there, and I really like that. Your book entitled Your Personal Destiny, A Complete Guide. Why did you think that this book was the correct book for right now?
Well, God, he wanted me to write this book, so he wanted me to write it down so that when I wasn't in the world no more, because I spread love and truth at a very high level. And so when you read my book, it has love and truth and the words of God and stories for real-life application, so people dealing with real problems can not only get the answers, but they can identify with the book. So I don't care which walk of life you came from. I don't care if you were way on one side strung out on drugs, or I don't care if you were way on the other side, a pastor of a church for 20 years. Everybody reads the book and say it's excellent. Some even call it a masterpiece. But it is, every household should have this book. It's excellent.
Now, for someone who may have joined a little bit later, they're saying, "What? I just heard that. That is awesome. What book are you talking about?" But my question to you is that can you tell us what is it about this book that makes it different? I hear, every household needs to read it. And I think we all can, especially bone up on our skills when it comes to our spiritual development. But what is it about your book that makes it the perfect book for all walks of life?
Well, this book, Your Personal Destiny, A Complete Guide by Evangelist John Dye, it has real-life application. So this book isn't written in the past, and this book is written for right now. This book, it talks to us like I'm talking to you right now. The book has a real-life application, so if you're going through something, all the answers to what you're going through or people might go through in this world is in the book. Nothing is missed. So you're going to identify with it, and then it's going to bring you to a knowledge of the truth and love at a very high level that when you read it, and each page you're going to turn through each page, and you're going to say, the stories in each page, you're going to say, that's the truth, that's the truth, that's the truth. Everybody who reads the book says that.
Now, I know that you can't give, it all away because you do have to purchase a copy of the book, listeners. But Evangelist, are there any tips that you can share with us now that are included?
Well, there's a very good chapter in there. It's called Going Through the Storm. And see, when people are going through something in this world right now, they're going through a lot, and they just don't know where to turn. And through this book, it tells you real-life application stories that the end result is you have to turn back to God, even for your individualism. Sometimes you can get caught up in groups and crowds, and you can't get yourself together. Sometimes you have to take a step back and get yourself together. And when you do that, you have to be able to hear God talk to you about the changes that you may need to make in your life. And you know it because it's in your heart and it's in your mind, but you haven't been listening to it because you've been so drowned out by listening to everybody else's advice.
Boy, I think you really hit on something there. And so my question to you then is, Evangelist, why are so many people turning to themselves for the answer or turning to other people for the answer? Why can't they seem to realize that the fact that they're turning more away from God as opposed to turning towards God, that's causing the problems?
Well, people build up their own lives, whether it be young or whether they get married or whatever it be money or whether it's paying bills, and they go along with the life they built. And it can last 10 years, 5 years, even 20 years. But when that day, when it all comes to an end, and it was over with long before then, they were just going through the motions of trying to keep it together because it was something they built. But when it comes to an end, there is no doubt in their heart and in their mind, especially having an understanding of my book and having an understanding of spirituality, that now it's time to take a real hard look at the truth and a real hard look at your spirit, because it's probably not in a loving mode. It's probably very angry about that life, and now it's time to put it back on track. And the only way to do that is to start getting the spiritual qualities of God, the love, the truth, the compassion, the patience, the goodness, the kindness back. Because if you don't, nobody else even want to talk to you that's trying to get themselves together.
Wow, that is just awesome. I love it. Now, for someone who's saying, well, you know what, Evangelist, I'm really going through a tough time. I am dealing with fill in the blank, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, the birth of a child, and it was totally unexpected perhaps. For some people, that's devastating. For others, it's maybe they find themselves going through a divorce. Whatever it is, you're going through a tough time, through a hard time. How can your book help? Should they read the book cover to cover, or can they just kind of open it up, start reading?
Well, my book has all those answers, and believe me, when you open up my book, I mean, there's chapters in there, but it's a good read. I didn't make it too difficult for you to read. So when you're going through each page, you're going to want to start from one cover to the other cover, because you're not going to want to put it down. You're just going to want to keep flipping pages because the truth is so good, and the real life stories are so good. You're going to be able to see yourself and your situation in the book, and so you won't want to put it down. You'll read it, and then you'll start thinking of other people that need this. Oh, my mom needs this, my brother needs this, my sister needs this, my friend needs this. And so this book should be set on your coffee table so everybody can pick it up and see it and be able to get that type of wisdom and truth and love at that high level.
I love it. Well, Evangelist, it is time for us to take a break. So if you would, please, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we pick up a copy, and how do we follow you online?
Well, the name of the book is Your Personal Destiny, A Complete Guide by Evangelist John Dye. You could probably go to any bookstore or Amazon, but go to my website, heartministriesonline.com, and you can get a copy there. I say go there to my website.
Mm-hmm. All righty, listeners, now you know where you can pick up a copy. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for our Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. Today, my guest is Evangelist John Dye. We're talking about his new book, Your Personal Destiny, A Complete Guide. Now, I love the title of that because aren't we always making sure that we're doing what we need to be doing as we go along this personal destiny of ours? This journey called life. If you said, no, I'm not doing anything, well, you can get started today. It is never too late to hit that reset button. Evangelist, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. I want to keep talking a little bit more about your book because I really do think that people want to know, what is their personal destiny? How do we get really good on this journey, this walk called life? What have you found that people fear the most, or the thing that's holding them back the most?
Well, I like to say this. My mission is to change the hearts and minds and the souls of the people in this world, to bring them back to the wisdom that God predestined before time began. So saying all that, people fear change because they do what they do every day, and they stick with that. They don't want to make the adjustments in any area of life. But time brings about a change, and if you don't make change, then you can't move into the future. You'll be stuck in the past. So people fear that change. But with God and faith, you can step out on faith, and that's why we need God to step out on faith to make changes and not stay in relationships that's not good for us, or jobs that's not good for us, or anything that's not good for us as a society.
That is so true. Because, it seems like people are staying in situations sometimes perhaps a little bit longer than they should. And that really kind of resounded with me when you mentioned, I know most people are going to think relationships, but actually when we're dealing with like work-related relationships as well, that we will just be in that toxic environment just a little bit too long, and it starts to affect our work. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. The other thing that you mentioned a little bit earlier is individualism. For the person who doesn't understand what that means when it comes to our spiritual walk, can you explain what is individualism and why do we need individualism in our life?
Yes, we need individualism because the groups and crowds and organizations and all these things that we've been trained to as a kid to follow, the norms, may not always be what's best for the individual. So the individual, if you wanted to be a news person and you did everything it took to be a news person, and then you get to the top and you find out you couldn't say what you wanted to say, but the people told you what to say, now you have a choice. Do you want to keep this job, or do you want to say what you want to say in hopes they may fire you? But you got to still know it's good to say what's been on your heart and mind to say, and know that it's going to still be okay because God is going to open up another door for you to continue to be good, to be the best you can be, not a puppet of somebody else.
Now, what advice do you have for people when you are, let's kind of set up the scenario. Let's say you've gone on a book signing, or you are in a coffee house or a tea house, you're getting your morning beverage, and someone walks over to you and says, oh my goodness, I just picked up a copy of your book. I absolutely love it. And they want to have that conversation with you. What advice do you have for people, or what types of things do you share? What nuggets of wisdom do you share with people who want to have those conversations with you?
Well, I'm a people person, and I love talking with people. I'm just a bridge between God and people. And my thing would be to know when God is talking to you. Like we talked about earlier, you got to know when to take a step back when things are not quite going as you wanted them to go or as planned, and to hear that small, still voice that's in your mind and in your heart that's telling you that some changes need to be made. And when you take a step back, you can really hear God. A lot of people are separated from situations because the noise of everyone else around them is blocking out the words of truth and love of God. And when you take a step back, you can really hear that voice. And then if you got enough courage to make the changes, then you can see your life turn around.
Mhm. Mhm. The courage to make the changes. You know, courage is a word that it seems like people applaud it, but it's like they're afraid to catch it, so to speak. It's like courage, oh my goodness, I don't know. They worry about stepping up and stepping into the next phase or into the light or into the conversation, whatever it is, the thing that they need to do to go to the next level. Why do you think that there's a kind of subconscious understanding of what it takes to be courageous, that it seems like it's a daunting thing, that it isn't just something that's within each one of us?
Well, people, whether they want to admit it or not, it's easy to follow the crowd. It's easy to just join in and fit in and say and do what everybody else do, even in your heart when you know it's wrong. So therefore, at some point in time, that has to end, and you have to start to make these changes that's good for you, that's good for people around you, because now you're starting to affect people around you in maybe a negative way. And so we need to implement God back into our lives at this point because it hasn't worked out, so that we can start affecting people in a positive way. So I like to be more motivational, inspirational, to give them the understanding at a very high level that this is why we need to make these changes, because you're starting to affect other people as well. Let's do that in a positive way, whether it be kids, family members, or coworkers.
That is so true. Wow, I love it. Now, so many times in our lives, we find that things tend to be pointing our feet in a certain direction, or we may have a certain passion for a certain things in one's life. Is there anything in particular that you want to accomplish? Or maybe there not just one thing, maybe there's several things, or maybe I should ask a larger question. Is there a particular legacy that you would like to leave behind for those who remember you later?
Yes, I think I've laid the groundwork for that. My website, heartministriesonline.com, was created for people to have these books, and I have 25 DVDs as well, so that people will have the Word of God at home. They kind of kicked God out of the house and went places to find God, and that hasn't worked out well. In fact, they're shooting up people at church now. But I wanted them to have God in the house, so put the books in the house, put the tape in the house, and let's start to get our houses back in order by putting God back in them. So that's my legacy that I want. I'd rather have God at home with you rather than you trying to go out and find God. So He can be in your heart, your mind, your spirit, and your surroundings. So my book, The Personal Destiny, a complete guide for that. My tapes with every topic you can think of. My DVDs, I have that. So, that's what I wanted to accomplish, that I'm here from God, and I want everybody to know it, and everybody like yourself, Dr. Angela, can help me get this message out to people so that people can get this type of truth we're talking about today at a very high level.
And, I applaud each and every person who chooses to walk in their calling. And if you feel that the Lord has placed this on your heart, there's nothing you can do but go out and do what He tells you to do. So, yes, sir, I do understand. I think it's wonderful that you're trying to add and remind people of the love of Christ and that they can do it. I love it. Now, I want to kind of shift gears just a little bit, if you would please, Evangelist, and that's about being an author. It is awesome that you have included this as a resource with a part of your ministry. But for someone out there who's saying, I think I have a book in me, but I'm really not sure, I want to ask you those types of questions. Now, the one question that I always ask is that when you're writing, do you find that it energizes you or it exhausts you?
Well, if you're doing something, hopefully you have some passion in what you're doing. And if it's writing, then it shouldn't exhaust you. It should be your passion, putting it down on paper and making sure that you get it right and that your message is the message that you want to have out there. My only thing is to make sure whatever you do, whether it be writing, singing, or anything else, with the passion, to try to do something that's going to be meaningful to the people in this world, to lift them up and to bring them to be a better person in this world. Because there's a lot of writings out there that's taking people right now and turning them into all types of things that God never intended them to be, and they're wreaking havoc and harm on others. Let us write something down that'll inspire the kids and family members and co-workers and the people we meet to be the best that they can be. And if your story does that, fine. Let's do something that's not always about money. Money is okay, but I think inspiration and motivation is even better.
I love it. Now, there might be someone who says that they found that they're actually productive during a certain time of the day. Some people are morning people and they want to write during the morning. Some people are night owls. However, what have you found is the perfect writing environment for you? Like, do you listen to music or it needs to be quiet? Is it in the morning or is it at night? You know, those types of things.
I found that, for me personally, I found that when God moves my spirit, whether it be day or night, to go and write it down right then and there while it's fresh in my mind and my heart, and all of that is there. So if you're moved to get up and do something, do it then, because you may remember it later, but it may not be as quiet as you remembered it. But, for some people they love morning, some people love evening. But I say, or set aside a certain time of day to do what it is that you love to do and stick to it. But, when you do that, there's going to be somebody knocking on the door at that very same time to distract you. So you got to stay focused.
Right. Oh, my goodness. That was so awesome. That is the truth, okay? That is the truth. And especially when you first start writing, it's really, really funny. And I laugh like that because I know that happens for me. And I chose to do more of like a workbook style. And as soon as you whip out that old laptop and get to typing, all of a sudden everybody wants to call or everybody wants to stop by. And you just have to kind of laugh and just go, nope, it's not going to work. I'm still going to write today. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you. That is a good one. Because my next question I was going to ask, and you've already kind of answered it, and that is when you're a young writer, you're first starting off, what are some things you need to make sure you do? And you just kind of gave an answer. Focus. Don't let those distractions get you.
Yeah. And everything you do in the beginning is hard, and it's an experience. I think that they had the standards or the traditional ways of doing things, radio, TV, this and that. But you also have the new ways now of, social media and all these other things so that you can express yourself. So self-publishing, go out and go for it, and then don't let nobody stop you. Go out and go for it. And sooner or later, who knows, maybe the other side will accept you later.
Absolutely. That is a golden nugget right there. Well, Evangelist John Dye, thank you so much for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today. I mean, you gave the best wrap-up right there, so thank you so much for being on today.
Appreciate it.
And listeners, thank you as well for tuning in, and we appreciate your being here and spending your morning with us. As always, may you find the Lord's face always shining towards you. May His grace and His mercy always be with you. Until next time, everyone, be blessed in the Lord. Bye.